What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Two Blue Vortex discussion. Today I want to talk to you guys about something I've seen a bunch of you guys down in the comment section bringing up, which is the possibility that the reason we haven't seen Boruto use his karma seal is because Boruto is afraid of using karma, specifically because he's worried about Momoshiki taking over his body. Now, this is something that I go back and forth on because I have considered this a possibility, because it does seem pretty clear that Boruto is avoiding using his karma. When we see him battle against Code in Boruto Two Blue Vortex, it's pretty clear that there wasn't a need for him to use the karma seal because he was dogging out Code in just his base despite Code having the karma seal. As you guys know, I just took that to mean that this was the story showing us how ridiculously cracked Boruto has become by having Boruto take out white karma seal Code with no issues, despite Code being stronger than Jigen but weaker than Ishiki. However, now that we have chapter 4 and we see Boruto not only going up against multiple powerful enemies and also being pushed back at one point by one of them, the Ten Tails clone version of Bug, that had him back against the wall, straining with visible effort, and then we see him busting out another Rasengan Uzuhiko and then being forced to retreat as they began to gang up on him. The thing that really stood out to me was that at no point did Boruto even look like he was thinking about using the karma seal, even though the power boost that comes from karma could have really come in handy. On one hand, you could argue that Boruto might have gauged at the power of those Ten Tails clones and realized that the karma might not be enough, and that against that many of those Ten Tails clones, it would have been a battle of too high of a difficulty, especially considering that all it takes is one bite from one of those Ten Tails soldiers to turn Boruto into a Christmas tree like Sasuke. It could be Boruto looked around at the surrounding area and decided this is too dangerous of a location to battle in because, one, we don't know if Boruto's unlocked the power of flight in the way that we know that Kawaki has. Now that he has a flying raijin, we have to wonder if he didn't just teleport on a Code's face in chapter 1, though I do still think it's more likely than not that Boruto does have flight abilities. However, if he doesn't, then he was just fighting in the worst possible place, because that Ten Tails dimension that Ishiki had the Ten Tails in, that's an elevated platform and there's nowhere else to go. So all the fighting that takes place is going to be in that closed off confine. So Boruto would have a much harder time fighting 4 versus 1 there than he would if he was in a more open space or if he had the ability to fly, because more space on the ground or the ability to fly through the air gives you the opportunity to split up that group that's actually pursuing you, because it's easier taking them out one at a time instead of trying to take them out all at once. That brings up the question of, is Boruto scared to use a karma? I think we have to consider at the very least it's a last option for Boruto in terms of a last resort option. I do think you could lean heavier into the narrative that Boruto has gravitated more so towards the Shinobi path of gaining power and gaining power in that manner, in spite of him having a body that is genetically Otsuki. It makes sense given he appears to have been trained by Sasuke for a time and mentored by Kashin Koji, but I also think the presence of Koji is a hint towards Boruto viewing karma as an hybrid tool that he's actually using, the same way that Kashin Koji doesn't just rely on ninja tech in his body like all the other car cyborgs. Kashin Koji still used the ninjutsu that he acquired as Jiraiya's clone and just augmented himself where needed with the power boost that came from the ninja tech inside his body. It's not crazy to think that Boruto only uses karma as a last resort to boost his powers and the other skills that come from him being a shinobi. It would definitely build on what we were told about his lesson with the scientific ninja tools, which is that it isn't a crutch to excuse your own lack of power or to use as a shortcut, but instead it is a tool that shinobi uses, no different than a kunai or a sword. If you take away either weapon, they are still formidable if that person is a well-trained shinobi. The same way taking away ninja tools should make someone less of a shinobi. For Boruto, just replace ninja tools with the karma seal. He should be almost as much of a threat without the karma seal as he is with the karma seal, because at the end of the day, the karma seal is a tool. I do think it also works because it would further the contrast between Boruto and Kawaki to make their eventual battle, where Kawaki states the age of shinobi is over, hold a lot more meaning, because Boruto is the one who declares that he is still a ninja, whereas Kawaki has been written as consistently relying on ninja tech inside of his body and relying on the karma seal. He's the perfect foil in contrast to Boruto, who, while he does have a karma seal, he's more likely to use ninjutsu and other ninja arts. I personally think this is just Boruto leaning more so into taking the ninja route, because we've already seen him go through the struggle of the karma seal and his fear that comes from using that power and not being able to control it. However, that's the beauty of the time skip. On one hand, you have characters who obviously grow stronger and they have more control over their power, but the opposite can happen as well. Characters can have less control over their power depending on what happened, and it gives the author a built-in conflict for the character. And for someone like Boruto, who picks up on things very quickly, him still not being fully tapped into his karma gives him something to improve upon. And if he is still having issues suppressing Momoshiki, that does raise the stakes more and implies something else happened during the time skip. When we look at the ending chapters of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, we saw that Boruto had already showed that Amado was correct. When Amado told Boruto that even though Momoshiki had been brought back to life and that Boruto was now 100% of Sasuke, Boruto still had to worry about Momoshiki hijacking Boruto's consciousness, and we saw it when Momoshiki saved Kawaki from being killed by Sasuke and Shikamaru. It would make sense to continue building Boruto in that method. However, if we do learn that Boruto is scared of this power, depending on how it's executed, it could be something that works to make the character more relatable by giving him a struggle we see him overcome. The real question is, what is it related to that power that has him scared, and scared to the point that he would not use it? Something really big had to have happened in order to push him to that point of being afraid of using the karma seal. For Naruto, we saw that the power of the Nine Tails, that fear that he had, it came once he realized he was hurting his comrades with it because he couldn't control it, and eventually he got over that mental hurdle. What will that be for Boruto? That's the million-dollar question that we don't have an answer to. Was Momoshiki part of the reason that Sasuke ended up transforming into a tree? While it'd be easy to say that Sasuke got turned into a tree in order to give his hawk summoning a new place to build his bird's nest, it would make sense if Momoshiki played a part in all of this, if hijacking Boruto's body during the fight with the Ten Tails is what led to Sasuke getting bitten. Momoshiki in Boruto Naruto Next Generations Chapter 80 was clearly not happy that Sasuke supported Boruto and gave him the boost that he needed to strengthen his mental resolve so that Boruto could remain strong enough mentally that Momoshiki couldn't hijack of his body like he was attempting to do when he tried to gaslight Boruto into giving up control. If Momoshiki thought taking Sasuke out of the picture would give him the lane that he needed to control Boruto's body by mentally breaking him, that could be something that works and explains why Boruto was so desperate to rescue Sasuke, if for no other reason than rescue Sasuke from being a tree, because Boruto felt personally responsible for Sasuke's situation. That could work. Again, me personally, I don't think Boruto's scared to use the karma seal based off of what I've seen right now. However, I don't rule it out either. It's one of those situations we don't have full context on, which is why it is fun to speculate, but I think we'll have our answers the next time Boruto has a serious fight, and if he's still not using karma, then we might have to ask, is he facing a similar problem that Naruto had with Kurama, where the power was something that he knew he needed, but was also afraid of that power for a good while. I'm curious to know how you guys feel about this. Why you think that over, click here to watch the Boruto chapter review if you haven't already.